Hello everyone, my name is Shia and I'm releasing this video to go into more detail about stats that we want to maximize your damage. Why should you listen to me? I'm currently a part of the top 1 team in the speedrun leaderboard for the 10-man version. On top of that, I currently have the top 1 parse for Moblade in the game, so I should know at least a little bit about what I'm talking about. This guide is gonna be helpful to every build, but I'm gonna be focusing on Moblade specifically, so I will go into more detail for that. But for the calculator and other stats, everybody should get something from this video. I'm making this guide specifically to teach you guys how to upgrade your gear. How to prioritize which stats you're gonna be upgrading, when to use your shells, because the materials in this game are so limited and it's so RNG based that we at least want to control what we are upgrading to not waste too many stats. I will address some questions and some other misconceptions about inner ways for the Moblade, specifically the Art of Resistance. This inner way does not provide us with much. Stone Split attack is not that good of a stat. I will explain why. Attribute is not good later, but for now, the only thing that this is giving us is 2% more damage and 6 seconds more duration on our buff. This allows us to do a different rotation, which will become obsolete once we get tier 6 scenery. Even now, this setup that I have here is more damage, and when tier 6 scenery comes out, I don't believe that the rotation this allows will even be possible. This is why I'm running the inner ways that I'm running. To perfect my rotation, it's also more damage, so might as well just start using it now. For the Moblade talents, this is gonna tie into the stats that I'm recommending, but there is a lot of misconception on what you need on Moblade, and I've seen other guides putting straight up misinformation out there that is gonna be hurting your DPS if you focus on their tips. The first talent we're looking at is Charge Calculation Enhancement. This is where the misconception comes from that Moblade doesn't need precision. Moblade charge skill and varied combo will never become abrasion. Never become abrasion just means that when we do not roll for a precise hit, we will not see a gray number. If you go into your details and you go into precision, it tells us precision hits have a chance to trigger critical and affinity. Non-precision hits have a chance to trigger abrasion and affinity. So the game will first check our precision rate. If the hit is precise, we might hit critical, affinity, or normal, if we are not capped. If we do not hit precision, we have a chance to trigger abrasion, normal, and affinity. So the only thing that our talent does is when we have a non-precise hit, any abrasion that we roll is gonna be normal damage. It's not gonna be gray damage, so it's gonna be white. Because of that, precision is mandatory on a tank, because all of our damage, or at least a vast majority of our damage, is always gonna be coming from critical. This is also shown in the calculator. If we put our precision on 90%, what does the calculator tell us? Precision is suddenly the best stat for us, because the calculator knows that we cannot crit if we have no precision. I have also done some testing on this. So with these stats, 100% precision rate, 59.6% crit rate, and 14% affinity rate, we have 84.6% total crit, because we're adding the red crit rate. Sorry for the bad screenshot, 4.6. So 84.6% total crit, we have 14% affinity, so expected normal hits are 1.4%. Actual normal hits I have done in the tests were 2 out of 200, around 200. Don't look at this percent here, because this just tells us how much the damage was, not how many crits we got, right? This is not the amount of hits that we got as this damage, it's just the amount of damage that we did. So the 2% here is because this normal damage hit rolled really high between the minimum and maximum physical attack. But 2 hits is 1% of hits were normal in my test. It's a small sample size, I know, but the calculator shows us, the game straight up describes it as such. So I think this is pretty conclusive. Then I made the second test with 92.9% precision. Critical is still capped. If you know Moblade talents, I will show them later as well. We gain critical rate, so this is 80% for us, in fact, and I even had a little bit more affinity. So expected normal hits if precision was not needed for us is 1.2%, and expected normal hits if we need precision is crit times precision plus affinity, which rounds up to 93%, which leaves us with 7% of normal hits. So in this test, I have seen 10 normal hits out of around 200, which is give or take 5%. Again, small sample size, but the results are pretty obvious. My own damage parses before I actually started stacking precision also reflect these results. I always had like above 5% normal hits or normal damage, sometimes even 9% normal damage, just because we need precision. And everybody telling you that we don't need it does not understand how the damage in this game works, does not understand how the talents of our Moblade work. So the next talent that we're looking at is increases critical rate based on the higher value between body or power. At 150 power, this gives us 4.6% critical rate. We will never stack body because body only gives us HP, so power is superior in every way because it gives us max fizz, it gives us min fizz, and it helps us do this talent. This is why we stack power. Another talent that confuses a lot of people or gives them the false impression on which stats are good is this one. So the game tells us that at 90,000 max HP, we will have in total 24% critical rate. I made a small mistake last video where I calculated how much I'm getting. At 90,000 we are getting 15 plus 9, which is 24. At 84,000 and above we're getting 23, and then at 78,000 and above we are getting 22% extra critical rate. This is what I was talking about earlier. We just need to add 22 on the number that we see right here. For us to be capped, we would need to be at 58% critical rate in the details. This would translate into 80% critical rate for our charged attacks, which is all of our damage. Because of this, some people might tell you that HP is a good stat for us, but if we do some quick calculations here, 6000 max HP is effectively 1% critical hit rate for us. How are we gonna go around getting this 1% crit rate? As you can see here, this is the max HP roll on a level 71 piece. It can give us 1500 HP, meaning we would need 4 rolls of HP to achieve 1% crit rate. But let's see how much crit we can get if we straight up get the line, 4.6%. So let's round it down to make the number a bit prettier. 18 affixes of max HP are the same value as 1 affix of critical rate. This is why max HP is extremely inefficient stat for us and it can be ignored. It is very bad to actually go for this and intentionally try to upgrade pieces to get you more max HP. So anybody telling you to stack max HP or to prioritize attribute stat is wrong. They do not know what they're talking about. We have one more talent here, which gives us stone split penetration depending on our minimum stone split. At max, this is 11 stone split penetration. Why do I not like attribute stats? Attribute stats are always going to be inferior to physical stats. Look at the amount that we have here. You don't even need to pull out the calculator to see that physical is a much higher component than attribute attack. If we just look at the numbers, it's around 3 times as powerful as attribute attack. So if we get stone split penetration, the only thing that it's gonna boost is this number right here, which, yes, it gets boosted by 50%, but still physical is 3 times as effective. So if we have 100 stone split attack, or like if we have 100 attribute attack and we boost it by 10%, we are getting 10 damage boost. If we have 300 physical attack and we boost it by 10%, we are getting 30 damage boost. This is why any multiplier to physical is always gonna be superior than attribute. Stop worrying about attribute so much. It's a bad stat. Yes, it gives you some damage, but it's not as good as physical. So focus on physical as much as possible. On top of that, we are getting 10 physical penetration from Morale Chant. If we're replacing this for speedrun, we are getting 25 physical penetration from Breaking Point, meaning even more boosts to physical. So just focus on physical. Always, it's always gonna be physical, guys. And mathematically, it's gonna be max physical because no matter what build you're using, you will have some affinity, meaning that on average, max physical is gonna give you more damage increase. The variance in your hits is gonna be higher, your damage is gonna be less consistent, but still on average, you're gonna be doing more damage if you focus on max physical attack. That doesn't mean minimum physical attack is bad, but if you have the choice, max is better. To go into more detail about what attributes give you, you can look at the screenshot that I have here. Here you can see what each attribute actually gives you. And for Moblade specifically, I did some math for you to see why we are picking the stats that we are. So for power, it gives us this minimum plus this maximum, and we can get 25 on a golden roll. So a max power roll is gonna give us 39 physical attack, which is almost as much as straight up getting the stat. But until we are 150, it will also give us a 0.76% crit. because we get 4.6% crit at 150 power. So we divide that and then we multiply it by 25 to get the crit that this one stat line gives you. This is why power is so good for us, at least until we get crit capped, and after that max physical should be stronger. Now if we look at agility, yes, 25 agility will give you more than double the crit rate of power, but it only gives us one minimum attack. So we're getting 25 minimum attack, which is much lower than what we're getting here. This is why power is more efficient stat to stack, which also shows it here. So if we want to get an accurate result on what we need to make some adjustments here. As I spoke before, at my current HP, I'm getting 22% of critical chance on top of everything else, but the calculator thinks I'm getting 24% because it assumes I'm at max HP. This is why we need to subtract 2% critical from the amount that we see on the spreadsheet. This will give us a more accurate representation on which stats are good for us. So, as you can see, we need to focus on power, agility, critical until we're capped. On top of that, max phys is a very good stat for us. Min phys is still good. Momentum is still good because we do want to fill out affinity, and momentum also gives us some max attack, so it's not a bad stat for us. Affinity is decent up until a certain point, but these are the stats that you should be focusing on to do as much damage as possible. There is one more thing I would like to talk about: minimum attribute. Minimum other attribute specifically. This is actually a pretty good stat if that's all you have on your gear. So if you see here in the calculator, this is your main. So for me, this is Stone Split. And this is, for example, minimum Bell Strike, maximum Bell Strike, minimum Silk Bind, maximum Silk Bind, and so forth. If all you have is minimum, then this stat is very efficient because that's the number that you're gonna roll. Any other increase that you get is gonna be half as effective. Let's look at our own attribute, for example. If we get 20 more max Stone Split, it is only gonna boost our average damage by 10. But if we get 20 minimum Bell Strike and we have 0 maximum Bell Strike, this minimum roll is gonna be 100% effective. So we're straight up gonna get 20 more attribute damage. This is why minimum other attribute roll is good only if you have no maximum other attribute rolls. So this is very hard to achieve because the stats are random, but minimum other attribute is a pretty good stat if that's all you have. I think I covered pretty much everything in this video, but of course there's always things that people want to know about, so don't hesitate to ask me in the comments. You're also free to join the speedrunning Discord that we have, because there's a lot of very useful information here. For every build there are guides from people who actually know what they're doing, that are gonna be out DPSing everybody that you're currently watching on YouTube, and if you wanna do damage, this is the best place to learn how to. So you guys are free to join and ask me questions even here. I talk about my findings here all the time. We discuss with other tanks that are actually speedrunning, and we try to come up with the best possible rotations, the best possible stats that you can get, the best builds. If you want to do damage, this is the place, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry this was such a long video, but there's just so much to cover, and I wanted to address a lot of things to not basically grief you guys. So see you guys next time.